Good morning. We are starting the 10th day review of COP28. Yesterday, we had a disturbing review because of the issues related to rain, which is there because I am on the field, I'm not in the not in the a stable place. Right now, here I am in Kalyana Durgam area where wind energy has been harnessed for the past several years. Now we are talking in COP28 about alternative energy. So while traveling here, I could see a lot of wind mills, and all over the place there are a lot of wind towers. Here we can see. So right now I'm opening the PPT. So, but yesterday I think it was a mixed kind of situation where we have seen I'm trying to set up. Sorry for the delay. This is taking some time. స్క్రీన్ కనపడుతుందా?
సార్ ఓకే సార్ కనిపిస్తుంది.
ఓకే
ఓకే సార్.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for the delay. There was this issue of sharing. So yesterday we at COP28 in Dubai, the discussions were at a even level because if you remember last week, there were a lot of hopes that global stock take negotiation which came up with a text which proposed a fossil fuel phase out. That text is now being taken into the second week, and now today we are on the 10th day. So another 3 days. So today 10th December, 11th December, and 12th December. So these are the 3 days we have for COP28. And if need, probably they are going to extend the COP depending on the negotiations. So I think there is a lot of expectation. There was actually on 8th, but yesterday on 9th, not much of encouraging news has come about. Anyway, the crux of I think climate discussions and COP28 is basically about legal decisions, a set of legal decisions which are taken under UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and its associated Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. So under these three, they are negotiating some legal decisions. So whatever in these 12 days, They are going to discuss legal texts, and ultimately those are going to be implemented. Now, other activities, which we have been discussing last week and yesterday, they are either distractions, basically distracting from the negotiation, or pressure building activities by both the lobbies. We have a lobby which is preventing, major decisions from coming about. Like fossil fuel lobby is there, agriculture companies lobby is there, uh, even other business lobbies are there, and they are trying to secure their interest by organizing meetings and trying to influence the negotiators and the country positions. But there, on the other side, we have NGOs who are trying to build pressure for ambitious targets to be set, ambitious goals to be declared, and pushing for fossil fuel phase out. And of course, there are a lot of ideation meetings. So, a lot of ideas are also being generated out of these, plenaries or side events or workshops which are being organized. So, all in all, this COP28, which has attracted almost 1,03,000 participants, I think they are now making efforts in the last 10 days, and the next 3 days they are going to sit and discuss and come up with a solution which possibly will be putting us on the pathway for uh, controlling or reducing climate change impacts. So yesterday it was a nature, land use and oceans day. So there was a mangrove breakthrough. Now mangroves are saltwater plants. They usually grow on the border of the sea and wherever rivers join the sea. So they are in this crucial land area, though they are land-based plants, but they need salt water. So these mangroves have been playing a lot of role in controlling, sea incursions into the land, or even controlling floods, or these winds which keep blowing from the ocean into the land. So all these are the ecological services of mangroves is very crucial. But mangrove depletion has been happening all over the world. So mangroves have been removed in many places, and mangroves are not to be found in many places. In fact, the mangroves also, mangrove forests, they are the breeding grounds for different marine life. So it could be small fishes or big ones. All of them use mangroves as a breeding ground. So that means the life gets nurtured and continued in mangroves. So these mangroves are under peril across the world. So in India, we have had mangroves all along the coastline, especially with reference to Kakinada in India, in Andhra Pradesh, and Machilipatnam, Bapatla. So many places there are mangroves. And now Kakinada, I think those mangroves have been under threat almost 30 years back in 1990. We wrote about the problem created by this mangrove depletion in Kakinada area. Yesterday in COP28, 21 countries have endorsed a mangrove breakthrough, basically declaring mangrove conservation in a specific land area. And the same countries, they said they are going to develop sustainable ocean plans. So oceans are the carbon sinks. So supporting ocean revival, because oceans are under threat because of pollution, polluted water from all the coastal cities, industrial pollution being allowed into sea, then plastic pollution, lot of ship transportation, and there all the ships dump their waste, into the sea. So oceans are have been under threat from human activities. So now ocean conservation plan is yesterday they agreed on sustainable ocean plans. Then of course UAE has declared a new $100 million funding for nature and climate projects. Now these declarations, commitments have been continuing for the past 10 days in COP28. So UAE has at least, if I remember, at least 7, 8 commitments of finance have been made by UAE, including a private finance called Altera Fund. So, but then these are still commitments. Now people are asking, what about the action, or basically releasing or implementing or operationalizing the funding which has been committed. Because in loss and damage, if you remember, on the first day, there are commitments where to loss and damage fund, almost $800 million have been committed so far. But now in the 10 days since that commitment made on December 1st, even today, there is no hope for any immediate operationalization of loss and damage fund. So this is again being highlighted by civil society organizations, and I believe yesterday there were some rallies and demonstrations in the green zone demanding immediate operationalization and funds to be given by these committed countries. So ministers also issued a statement on sustainable timber to protect forests. So on forest, of course, are again a major source of carbon sink, and ministers are now looking at how timber can be harvested without destroying the forest. So of course, there are plantations, only timber plantations, and their role is basically to grow timber, and that timber is used for all purposes of human beings, including paper, newspapers, and tissue papers. All those needs are even cardboards. But forests and timber are continuously in a controversial cycle. And now some people are saying uh, timber, timber plantations are also carbon sinks. But then there are studies which say forests, which the biodiversity and various species are much more efficient in the sinking carbon or absorbing carbon from the atmosphere than monoplantation or single species plantation timber forests. So I think again and again this is going to come up, maybe in the carbon credit mechanisms and other areas. Now, COP 28 president yesterday, I think at around 3 p.m. In the evening, organized, a single setting. Today they are going to organize a plenary. So yesterday it was announced late night that open-ended single sitting conference will be organized. What it means, We are not yet sure, but it seems the presidency is taking initiative in bringing together all the discussions. So right now, the negotiation tracks are happening and on various texts. Almost 319 texts have been put forward in this COP28. We'll discuss about the negotiation tracks. But now, presidency, COP28 presidency, today at 3 p.m., they are going to organize a plenary where they want to put together all the discussions, whatever that means. So there is, in that sense, there is an expectation that today it might be a big day for COP28, which might come up with a major decision, is what is being expected today. So, and tomorrow, Monday, 11th December, probably a full package of all decisions will be announced. So that means I think before December 12, unlike all other COPs, before December 12, we might see a cover decision tomorrow as well. So there is a air of expectation in COP28. And this air of expectation is majorly focused on one, phase out of fossil fuels. So complete phase out of fossil fuels is what is being expected. Then the ambition, on nationally determined contributions is again is under focus because people are expecting the countries to come up with a more ambitious goal of reducing carbon emissions. Then a robust adaptation and a finance in support of climate action is also being expected from a package which is probably going to be announced tomorrow on 11th December. Now there was a summit, lead IET summit. This is being led by India, and yesterday there was this summit co-hosted by Bhupender Yadav, who is our Minister for Environment, along with the Minister for Environment of Sweden. So this is a two-country summit, and this summit has been discussing, plans and policies for low carbon transition of industrial sector. Now, industrial sector is a major contributor of carbon emissions. So this initiative is trying to reduce uh, carbon emissions from industries and decarbonize. So there is a lot of discussion on the innovation which might be required in changing the materials of industrial production or even changing the energy material. Because if see in India, lot of industries use coal for their boilers. So instead of coal, will they shift to electricity is one aspect. The second is, reducing on diesel or petrol, which might be used for industrial production. Mostly diesel will be used because of the diesel generators. Apart from that, the material might be raw material for industrial production of various products, even there decarbonization is being discussed. I in fact wrote a paper on decarbonization, which was published by Springer. So there is a lot more we need to discuss in India how to decarbonize Indian industrial sector. So yesterday at COP28, Bhupender Yadav organized this summit, and I believe a lot of ideas have been discussed there as part of this initiative. Then yesterday, Bhupender Yadav again made a national statement. This national statement is mandatory as part of COP28. So this is the third national communication based on greenhouse gas inventory of 2019. So yesterday, as before also, Bhupender Yadav has claimed that India has reduced emission intensity of its GDP by 33% between 2005 and 2019. That means over a 14-year period, they have reduced emission intensity. So, what is the difference between emissions and emission intensity? I think this is looks very dicey way of putting things, because it's not emission. Basically, it is emission intensity which has been decreased. And second, it was puzzling for me to understand how they are linking with the GDP. Now they are saying the GDP, the intensity in the GDP has been reduced by 33%, and this they are saying has been achieved 11 years ahead of schedule time. So that means not even today in 23, this was achieved in 2019, almost 4 years back. That is 11 years ahead of schedule time, which again is not supported by any evidence. This is only a claim, and I have not come across any study or independent evaluation of this achievement. If it has achieved, it is well and good. But if it is a mere claim, I think we need to call out on this claim and see expose what has not been done. And again, government said 40% of electric installed capacity through non-fossil fuels. Now, this has been achieved is what government is saying, including 100 gigawatt of installed electric capacity. So by this, we have achieved 40% from non-fossil fuels is what the government of India is claiming. But then it is only capacity. What about usage is again issue, because we have a lot of capacity, we had a lot of capacity, but not all capacity gets converted into usage. So we need to see data on how much electricity is being used from non-fossil fuels and fossil fuel sources, especially coal. So again, that is what we need to understand. Now, India has also led establishment of various alliances, including its own alliance. So last September, Prime Minister Modi, as G20 president, he announced Global Biofuel Alliance. And India has also been active in Indian International Solar Alliance. Then Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure is another initiative. Creation of lead IT, basically targeting decarbonization in industry. Infrastructure for resilient island states, and big cat alliance. So all these alliances, India is part of that or has taken a lead in that. And Bhupender Yadav clearly said India is looking forward to outcomes on global stock take. Now that is one statement, because global stock take negotiating text now has a energy package, paragraph 35. It's a complete energy package, but in the negotiating room, some journalist reported that India has wanted this complete energy package to be removed. So that means that this energy package, which had A, B, C, D, E, F options, and within A, B, C, option 1, option 2 kind of situation. So all these are about fossil fuel phase out and tripling renewable energy capacity and improving energy efficiency, doubling the energy efficiency. But when inside the negotiating room, government of India has opposed this. But now, yesterday press conference, he said, India is expecting a good outcome out of global stock take. So there is some contradiction and lot of gap in Indian position, which is again a major challenge for us, I feel, because we don't discuss any of these government of India positions in India and what it implies on the Indian people whose per capita emissions are lowest in the world. But then we need to watch out for Indian government positions every day, every time. Now, there was a high ambition coalition of for nature and people. This was a coalition formed by different countries. So 115 countries have called for 30% of Earth to be protected by 2030. So next 7 years, they want at least 30% of Earth to be protected. This again, I could not understand because when we are saying the entire Earth as an ecosystem is affected because of this climate change and carbon emissions, how can 30% of it is be protected? And why such goal has been set by this group? So I think we need to delve deeper into that and see what can be understood out of that. So China, it seems yesterday has announced that they are joining this high ambition coalition for nature and people. So the HAC, they declare in their website that major emitters should be making this an economy-wide target, ensuring we can have a sharp decline of emissions peaking in 2025, so that 1.5 degree can be reached. I don't know how this can cover different country circumstances, but big emitters need to make a great effort. So this is basically, this is calling out for a major outcome in terms of the major carbon emitters taking serious efforts. So it includes USA, China, Europe, India, and other countries as well. There was another coalition which has been formed by Netherlands. See, this was formed now, and this coalition is targeting fossil fuel subsidies. So a lot of subsidies go to oil, gas, and coal, and for long, for 20 years, some NGOs have been working on reducing subsidies for this pollution causing fossil fuels. But now, this yesterday, Netherlands has formed a new coalition, and the objective is to one is to increase transparency in terms of bringing out a report of fossil fuel subsidies across the world. So the first report is expected to come next year in COP29. So I think that will help us in understanding the progress towards reduction in fossil fuel subsidies. Then evaluating the existing international agreement that form barriers to reform. Basically, whatever barriers are preventing reduction in fossil fuel subsidies, those will be, I think, evaluated by this group. So I think this will mean somewhere world trade, which is based on fossil fuels, the agreements, bilateral agreement, multilateral agreement, all those will be coming under this evaluation watch by this coalition. So, developing a national fossil fuel subsidy phase out strategies. At the national level also, the member countries of this coalition, they are going to, formulate national level plans for reducing subsidies. So in 2022, public support. This is a document, released by IIS, the International Institute for Sustainable Development. So they said the subsidies which have gone to uh, state-owned enterprises in the form of subsidies and investments has exceeded $1.7 trillion globally. I think this is again a significant information, and I think all of us need to examine the report which has brought this fossil fuel subsidies information out. So now for this coalition, 16 countries have signed and agreed to reform their fossil fuels so that that eliminates subsidy. So Canada has joined 8 other countries in signing a ministerial statement. So yesterday, this coalition has released a joint ministerial statement on fossil fuel subsidies because they are addressing a 14-year-old inaction in to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies. So 14 years back, almost I think we are talking of 2009. Around that time, this commitment was made to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies, but subsequently it was not done. So I think this coalition is going to that joint statement. It is focusing on this uh, uh, basically fossil fuel subsidy reduction program within the countries. Now, all countries are going to develop clear phase-out strategies with a specific timeline. This is the coalition which is going to talk about it and work on that. So there will be annual meetings at COPs from now on to talk about this. So I think next COP, like global stock take or anything, there will be annual meeting within the COP on this fossil fuel subsidy phase out. Now, if there is an agreement, this in COP28 on fossil fuel subsidy phase out, then it becomes part of the negotiation track and implementation. But then before that, this coalition is going to organize annual meetings at every COP so that fossil fuel subsidies are reduced. So there are other initiatives, which focus on fossil fuel subsidies, like fossil fuel subsidy reform, and they mentioned the WTO, World Trade Organization. So the ministerial statement and the countries are negotiating agreement on climate change, trade, and sustainability. So we need to watch out for this agreement if it is going to come out of this COP28. Now, some international organizations, OECD, International Energy Agency, International Monetary Fund, and NGOs such as IAC, IISD, they are, I think, doing research so that information on fossil fuel subsidies will be available for people and policy makers. So those efforts are being done by different institutions. Now, yesterday, a major development was this letter. There was a leak in Guardian that oil Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, they have been sharing letters within themselves because they are worried that COP28 is going to come up with a uh, fossil fuel phase out, and they are worried about it. And this letter was written by the Secretary General of OPEC to their members, asking them to, stop any such unacceptable outcome of the COP28. So OPEC, I think the first, until now, we were discussing fossil fuel lobbies who are sitting in the negotiating rooms and trying to water down proposals which target fossil fuels. But now this is a clear communication from OPEC countries under their letterhead and their signature, asking for either lobbying or careful countering of the civil society organizations about fossil fuel phase out. So here clearly you can see this letter targets paragraph 35, which we discussed right now, and even India, Saudi Arabia have rejected this paragraph 35. And then you can clearly see it is saying this letter, it would be unacceptable that politically motivated campaigns put our people's prosperity and future at risk. So they are asking, I think basically asking their members to take things seriously and basically put barriers in so that such decision will not come out of the this process which is happening at COP28. So this has I think, raised a lot of furor and controversy because OPEC and oil companies have for the first time showed that there is a opposition for transition towards non-fossil fuel sources of energy. Now coming to negotiation tracks, yesterday evening, 14 new texts have been released because some negotiation has happened and more, brackets have been opened or whatever. So basically, 14 new texts have been released, and among the 14, only one is reached a draft decision stage, and 13 are still draft negotiation text. That means there is no agreement, and I think they are going to continue discussion. So probably next 3 days, these 13 tracks are going to be continuously monitored. Now, overall, if you look at it, there are 103 negotiating texts yesterday by 9th December out of 319 entries, and 45 draft conclusions, 47 clean texts, and 25 draft decisions. So you might know, you might ask the question, what is the difference between draft conclusion, draft negotiating text, and clean text and draft decisions? So that we'll discuss later. Now, this is again a pictorial developed by Carbon Brief. So they are saying how many draft texts are there. 51 are there. 5 have been agreed upon, but 33 have no text at all. Basically, there's no text which is being discussed by that. Now, clean development mechanism. This was a CDM was established as part of Kyoto Protocol. Now there are negotiations going on how the work can be continued because some of the discussions are related to the past projects of clean development mechanism. Then there is no working text on global goal and adaptation. So GGA is one of the big areas where lot of expectations are there in arrange, uh, on outcomes of adaptation. So there are in a global goal on adaptation, there are two contentious issues. One is the inclusion and the other is the principles and means of implementation. So just to again recap, yesterday I mentioned this. What is the progress, how this negotiation progresses in terms of the text. So usually the co-facilitators which are identified, appointed by UNFCCC, they develop a text which passes through discussion and gets improved, edited, or changed. So this is all called the draft negotiating text. Now, after discussion, usually in the discussion, if there is a dispute about a word, that word put is in the brackets. And then so there are some placeholders. So basically, as the ideas keep coming in, there is segregation and there is basically uh, responses to reduce those differences towards consensus. So after that, whatever text emerges, that is called clean text. So this clean text becomes a draft and a decision, and those draft decisions are finally adopted in a plenary where the president of COP28 uses a gavel. So gavel is basically what we see in the courts, where the judge taps on the table, calling for order or something else. So this gavel, once it is used in this plenary, the president usually asks for any objections on the proposals, and if at all there are any, there will be discussion. Otherwise, I think it will be passed. So there are again, as usual, we have been collecting different views. So yesterday, I think this Marshall Island minister, he made a very blunt statement. He says, "We will not go silently to our graves. There is no pragmatic response to the climate phase than phasing out fossil fuels." So he is clearly asking for phasing out fossil fuels. And then he continues, the 1.5 degrees is not negotiable. So there should not be any negotiation. So we need to end pretense that 2 degrees centigrade is acceptable. So this COP must go put guardrails on achievement. And we all recognize adaptation control cannot happen without support. So people should not be forced between climate and poverty. So this statement is coming from the Minister of Marshall Islands, and his statement is very categorical, asking for fossil fuel phase out. Then there was this Aruna Shekhar. She is an Indian journalist. She is covering, COP28. She is there. So she has been gathering information and sharing in the publication. So she says some argue that every country needs to transition to a low emission, eventually low emission future, but that requires more support from developing countries. Others make reference to dividing up the remaining carbon budget. Many say developed countries have to take the lead. Now, this is another second issue. Carbon budget is there, and countries like India, they are saying they are asking US and the EU to reduce their emissions because these continuous emissions and buildup of carbon is affecting the right of countries like India to use carbon budget. So I think this looks very pertinent question, but I think we still need to see how this question will be addressed as part of the COP28 negotiation. Now, Bhupender Yadav has released another statement. He says decarbonization of transport sector will reduce greenhouse gas emissions to achieve net zero emissions by 2070. So he is saying we need to decarbonize transport sector. So lorries, buses, all these bulk transport vehicles, they need to shift to electricity vehicles. So this decarbonization is being asked by the minister. Now coming to delegates, yesterday there are data which we looked at it. So currently in COP there are 24,488 delegates, and India is represented by 948, a little less than 1,000. Now there you can see there are two kinds of participants. One is the direct party of who participate in the negotiation. So India has 725 people there sitting in COP28, and additionally there is a new badge called overflow badge. I suppose this is a badge given to either support staff or people who are in addition to the delegation. So the Carbon Brief has brought out this data. So they're saying smallest delegation has been registered by North Korea. So only 2 people came from North Korea. Nicaragua, 6 people. Eritrea, 7 people. And Liechtenstein and Moldova, both 8. So these are the smallest delegation. The biggest delegation is UAE itself. UAE has 4,409 delegates. Of them, I think at least 3,000 are overflow guests. So I think they are not uh, either COP parties or they are working for any NGO. I think it could be they could be from security forces because security forces want to monitor COP28 on a real-time basis so that there are no depressions coming out of that situation. So China, Nigeria, and also have sent more than 1,000 delegates. Interestingly, Afghanistan and Myanmar, they don't have any delegates. That means they are not represented. And this is not the first time. I think COP 26, 27, and 28. For 3 COPs, these countries have not sent any delegate. And we have media delegates, at least 3,972 media delegates. There are observers from NGOs. They are 14,338. And observer organizations like intergovernmental organizations, UN bodies, and other agencies and business representatives. So these observer organizations are at least 3,623 delegates, representing them. So I think this is again a huge number. As I keep mentioning, if you remember, I told the World Trade Organization is there, Food and Agriculture Organization is there, World Health Organization is there. So there are many from these kind of intergovernmental organizations registered as delegates. So all these institutions, I think they are trying to, protect their whatever services they provide and also intervene and help out common people. Now, Azerbaijan, the next COP29, will be hosted by Azerbaijan. So, Azerbaijan has proposed to hold COP29 in Baku. Baku is the capital city of Azerbaijan. This Azerbaijan was part of USSR earlier and became independent after perestroika by Russian president. So we can expect again Asian COP. So this is part of Asia, and we'll have a COP29 in Asia. So today, these are 7th, 8th, 9th December events. Today on 10th December, a lot of activities are around negotiations. So there are few events basically related to the declared day, theme of the day. So we'll discuss whatever activities have happened today, tomorrow morning. So I stop here and I'll briefly speak in English, Telugu. నిన్న COP28 సదస్సులో అనేక విషయాల మీద ఈ చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అంటే ఒక ఏకాభిప్రాయం రావడానికి, ఎందుకంటే COP28 సదస్సులో ఏ ప్రతిపాదన పెట్టినా కూడా ఆ ప్రతిపాదన ఏకాభిప్రాయం ద్వారానే దాని మీద నిర్ణయం జరుగుతుంది. అంటే ఏ ఒక్కరూ దాని మీద ఆబ్జెక్షన్ చెప్పినా, దానికి వ్యతిరేకత ఉన్నా కూడా ఆ ప్రతిపాదన ముందుకు పోదు. అందుకే ఇన్నేళ్ళు పడుతుంది ఈ ఈ ప్రక్రియ మొదలు కావడానికి, దీన్ని అమలు చేయడానికి ఇన్నేళ్ళు పట్టడానికి ఇదే కారణం. ఇప్పుడు ప్రతి కాప్ సదస్సు కూడా ఒక 12 రోజులు మాత్రమే సమావేశం అవుతుంది. ఈ 12 రోజుల సమావేశాల్లోనే ఎక్కువ శాతం ఈ చర్చలు జరుగుతాయి. కాకపోతే మళ్ళీ ఈ కాప్ సదస్సు అయిపోయినాక కొన్ని విషయాల్లో తర్వాత కూడా సమావేశాలు వివిధ ప్రాంతాల్లో జరుగుతుంటాయి. కాకపోతే ఆ నిర్ణయం మాత్రం ఏ నిర్ణయం తీసుకున్నా మళ్ళీ COP28లోనే నిర్ణయం జరగాలి. ఇప్పుడు ఈ COP28లో దాదాపు 319 విషయాల మీద ఈ చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అందులో కొన్నేమో పాత ఒప్పందాలు, ఏదైతే ప్యారిస్ ఒప్పందం జరిగిందో ఆ ఒప్పందంలో మళ్ళీ చేయాల్సిన కార్యక్రమాల గురించి, చేపట్టాల్సిన చర్యల గురించి కూడా మళ్ళీ ఒప్పందాలు కానీ ఏకాభిప్రాయం కానీ రావడానికి ఆస్కారం ఉండే విషయాలు ఉన్నాయి. అందులో ఒకటి అడాప్టేషన్. మనకు తెలుసు, అడాప్టేషన్ అంటే ఈ మనకు భూమి ఉష్ణోగ్రత పెరుగుతుంది, దీనివల్ల ఈ కాలుష్యం పెరుగుతుంది, ప్రకృతి వైపరీత్యాలు జరుగుతుంటే దీనికి తట్టుకునే శక్తి రావడానికి, తట్టుకోవడానికి చేపట్టాల్సిన చర్యల గురించి ఈ అడాప్టేషన్లో మాట్లాడతారు. సో ఈ గ్లోబల్ గోల్ ఆన్ అడాప్టేషన్ అని అదొక ట్రాక్ ఉంది, దాంట్లో చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అందులో ఇప్పుడు నిన్నటి వరకు అయితే వాళ్ళ అంగీకారానికి రాలేదు. కాకపోతే ఇంకా 3 రోజులు ఉంది కనుక బహుశా అంగీకారానికి వస్తారు అనుకుంటున్నాను. అట్లే క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్, అంటే ఈ ఏ పనులకైనా నిధులు అవసరం కాబట్టి ఆ క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ ఇస్తామని అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు వాగ్దానం చేసినాయి. కానీ ఆ వాగ్దానాల మేరకు నిధులు రాలేదనేది చిన్న దేశాలు, ఈ ప్రకృతి వైపరీత్యాల బారిన పడుతున్న దేశాలు వాళ్ళ యొక్క ఆరోపణ. దాని మీద కూడా ఒక 5-6 రకాలుగా చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అది క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ ఒకటి $100 బిలియన్ గురించి అయితే, అది కాకుండా గ్రీన్ క్లైమేట్ ఫండ్, తర్వాత కొత్తగా లాస్ అండ్ డ్యామేజ్ ఫండ్ అని పోయిన COP27 సదస్సులో ఒప్పుకున్నారు. ఈ సదస్సులో మొట్టమొదటి రోజే దాని కింద మేము నిధులు ఇస్తామని ఒక 10-15 దేశాలు ప్రకటన జారీ చేశాయి, దాదాపు $800 మిలియన్. అయితే ఇది ఏమాత్రం సరిపోదు, ఇది చాలా చిన్నది. ఇది పెరగాలనే ఒక డిమాండ్ ఉన్నది, దాని మీద కూడా చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అయితే ఏ విధంగా ఇవ్వాలి, ఎట్లా ఇవ్వాలి అనేది కూడా దాని మీద చర్చలు ఉన్నాయి. అంటే ఇప్పటికే మేము ఇచ్చామని అది ధనిక దేశాలు అంటుంటే మీరు ఇప్పటిదాకా ఇచ్చింది వేరు, మేము అడుగుతుంది కొత్తగా నిధులు ఇవ్వండి. మీరు ఇన్సూరెన్స్ కింద ఇచ్చినవి లేదా రెండు దేశాల మధ్య పరస్పర సహకారం కొరకు ఇవన్నిటిని క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్లో పెట్టకండి, కొత్తగా నిధులు ఇవ్వండి అనేది ఈ డిమాండ్. సో వీటన్నిటి మీద కూడా ఈ స్టాండింగ్ కమిటీ ఆన్ ఫైనాన్స్, క్లైమేట్ ఫైనాన్స్, తర్వాత గ్రీన్ లాస్ అండ్ డ్యామేజ్ ఫండ్, ఇట్లాంటి ఒక ఫైనాన్స్ సంబంధించి ఒక ఒక 5-6 సబ్జెక్ట్స్ మీద చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఇది కాక గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్, ఇప్పుడు ప్యారిస్ అగ్రిమెంట్లో భాగంగా అనేక విషయాల మీద చర్చలు ఉన్నాయి. కానీ అందులో ప్రధానమైనది ఈ COP28 సదస్సుకి ఇప్పుడు అది గుండెకాయలాగా మారింది. ఏంటంటే ప్యారిస్ అగ్రిమెంట్లో ఒక క్లాజ్ ఉంది, ఏమంటే ఆ ఒప్పందం మేరకు దేశాలు తమ దేశంలో విధానాల మార్పు తీసుకొని కాలుష్యం తగ్గించే చర్యలు చేపడతామన్నారు. అయితే ఇది ఎంతవరకు ముందుకెళ్ళింది, ప్రగతి ఎంతవరకు సాధించామని చూడడానికి ప్రతి 5 ఏళ్ళకి గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్ చేస్తామనేది ఆ ప్యారిస్ ఒప్పందంలో ఉంది. అయితే అది ఆలస్యమైంది. మొట్టమొదటి గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్ ఎప్పుడో రావాల్సింది, ఇప్పుడు ఈ సంవత్సరము ఆ గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్ రిపోర్ట్ వచ్చింది. అంటే ఇప్పటి వరకు ఎంత మనం సాధించాము, ఎంత ఎమిషన్స్ తగ్గించాము, ఎంత కాలుష్యం తగ్గించాము, మరి ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేద్దాం ఇప్పటి నుంచి, అంటే ఇప్పటి వరకు ఏ దశలో ఉన్నామని తెలుసుకోవడానికి ఇది ఉంది. సో దీని మీద చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఇందులో భాగంగా పోయిన వారము చాలా ప్రధానమైన ప్రతిపాదనలు అందులోకి వచ్చాయి. ఇప్పుడు ప్రతిపాదనలు అందులో ఒకటి ఈ శిలాజ ఇంధనాలను పూర్తిగా, అంటే క్రమంగా పూర్తిగా వినియోగం నుంచి మనము మానేస్తాము, ఫేజ్ అవుట్, అంటే శిలాజ ఫాసిల్ ఫ్యూయల్స్ని ఫేజ్ అవుట్ చేస్తాము అని ఉంది. దాన్ని రకరకాలుగా ప్రతిపాదనలో ఒక 8 రకాల ప్రతిపాదనలు ఉన్నాయి అందులో ముఖ్యమైన విషయం ఏంటంటే, ఒకటేమో ఫేజ్ అవుట్, రెండవది దీనికి సమాంతరంగా మన పునరుత్పాదక శక్తి వనరులు ఏవైతే సోలార్ కావచ్చు, విండ్ కావచ్చు, వీటి నుంచి వచ్చే 7 ఏళ్లలో అంటే 2030 వరకు 11,000 గిగావాట్ల ఉత్పత్తి సాధిస్తామని ఇది ఒక ప్రతిపాదన పెట్టారు. ఇది కాక అదనంగా ఎనర్జీ ఎఫిషియన్సీ, అంటే మనం ఇప్పుడు 2 యూనిట్లు వాడితే ఎఫిషియెంట్గా వాడాలంటే రెండింటిని ఒకటి చేయడం, అట్లా శక్తి విద్యుత్ అవసరము తగ్గించుకోవడం, ఎఫిషియన్సీ పెంచడం ద్వారా. సో దీన్ని కూడా డబుల్ చేస్తామని, అంటే ఇప్పుడు 2% ఉంటే దాన్ని 4% చేస్తామని, ఏది ఎఫిషియన్సీ. సో ఇట్లా ఇది కాక ఈ శిలాజ ఇంధనాలకు సబ్సిడీలు ఇస్తున్నారు. అన్ని దేశాలు దాదాపు సబ్సిడీలు ఇస్తున్నారు. ఈ సబ్సిడీలు తగ్గించాలని దాని మీద కూడా ప్రతిపాదన ఇందులో ఉంది. అదిగాక కొత్తగా పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టము, ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పటికే ఇప్పుడు పోయిన సంవత్సరం కాప్ అయిన తర్వాత అమెరికా కొత్త పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టింది, ఏది ఈ శిలాజ ఇంధనాల మీద. భారతదేశం కూడా మేము ఇంకా బొగ్గు మీద కొత్త పెట్టుబడులు పెడతామంటాం. అట్లా ప్రతి దేశము ఈ శిలాజ ఇంధనాల మీద పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టే ప్రణాళికలు ఉన్నాయి, ఆలోచనలు ఉన్నాయి. సో ఇప్పుడు ఈ గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్లో ఒక ప్రతిపాదన ఏంటంటే, ఈ పెట్టుబడులు, కొత్త పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టము అనే ఒక ప్రతిపాదన ఉంది. ఈ ప్రతిపాదనలు, ఈ 4-5 ప్రతిపాదనలు ఒక ఏకాభిప్రాయానికి వస్తే COP28 సదస్సు చాలా ప్రగతి సాధించినట్టు, మనం పుడమి మీద భూమి ఉష్ణోగ్రత పెరుగుదలను ఆపడానికి ఈ కాప్ సదస్సుల ద్వారా చేస్తున్న ప్రయత్నాలు చాలా కీలక దశకు చేరినట్టు. అంటే ఆ ఏకాభిప్రాయం వచ్చి ఆ నిర్ణయం తీసుకుంటే మాత్రము అక్కడి నుంచి అన్ని దేశాల్లో వాటి యొక్క ఆర్థిక రంగం కానీ, ఉత్పత్తి రంగం కానీ, ఇవన్నిట్లో మార్పులు వస్తాయి. అంటే పరివర్తన తీసుకురావాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. ట్రాన్సిషన్ చేయాలి, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ చేయాలి. అయితే దీనివల్ల ప్రపంచం అంతటా అన్ని దేశాల్లో కూడా అంతర్గతంగా అనేక మార్పులు సంభవించే అవకాశం ఉంది. ఆ మార్పులు పేదల మీద, బలైన వర్గాల మీద భారం పడకుండా ఒక జస్ట్ ట్రాన్సిషన్, అంటే ఒక న్యాయపరంగా వాళ్ళ అవసరాలను దృష్టి పెట్టుకొని మార్చాలని దాని మీద కూడా, జస్ట్ ట్రాన్సిషన్ మీద కూడా చర్చలు జరుగుతుంది. ఇవన్నీ కూడా కొనసాగుతాయి. ఈ కాప్ ఇప్పుడు 3 రోజులలో అయిపోయే విషయం కాదు. కానీ నిర్ణయం ఒకవేళ శిలాజ ఇంధనాలను మనము నివారిద్దాము, క్రమంగా తగ్గిద్దామనే నిర్ణయం వస్తే మాత్రం అది ఒక ఒక మైలురాయి, చాలా పెద్ద మైలురాయి అనిపించుకుంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పటి వరకు అన్ని శాస్త్రీయ అంచనాలు కూడా ఈ మనకు పుడమి మీద కర్బన ఉద్గారాలు పెరగడానికి ప్రధాన కారణము ఈ బొగ్గు, ఆయిల్, తర్వాత గ్యాస్ వాడకమే. ఈ వాడకం తగ్గించుకుంటే ఎమిషన్స్ తగ్గుతాయి అనేది ఉంది. కాకపోతే ఈ అనేక దేశాల యొక్క సంపద, వాళ్ళు ధనికులు కావడానికి అవకాశం వీటి నుంచే ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఎక్కడైతే అబుదాబిలో మీటింగ్ జరుగుతుందో అది ఒక పెట్రో స్టేట్, అంటే వాళ్ళ యొక్క మొత్తం ఎకానమీ ఈ ఆయిల్ ద్వారా నిర్మాణమైంది. ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళు దాన్ని వదులుకుంటారా అంటే వాళ్ళు కానీ ఈ ఆయిల్ దేశాలు ఏవి వదులుకోవడానికి సిద్ధంగా లేవు. అందుకనే ఇట్లాంటి నిర్ణయం రాకుండా అడ్డంకులు సృష్టించడానికి వాళ్ళు ప్రతినిధులు ఆ COP28 సదస్సులో ఉన్నారు. ఇదివరకు ఒక 500 మంది ఉంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈసారి 2700 మంది ఈ ఆయిల్ కంపెనీ ప్రతినిధులు అక్కడ ఉన్నట్టు ఒకసారి నివేదిక చెప్తుంది. అట్లా వివిధ వ్యాపారస్తుల ప్రతినిధులు అక్కడ వాళ్ళకు అనుకూలమైన విధానాలు రావడానికి, వ్యతిరేక విధానాలను నీరుగార్చడానికి అక్కడ ఉన్నారనేది మనకు అనేక నివేదికలు చెప్తున్నాయి. అంటే నిన్న ఓపెక్, అంటే ఆర్గనైజేషన్ ఆఫ్ పెట్రోలియం ఎక్స్పోర్టింగ్ కంట్రీస్, ఇది ఎప్పుడో 70లలో పెట్టిన ఇది ఆయిల్ ఎగుమతి దేశాల కూటమి. ఇది కేవలం అరబ్ దేశాలే కాకుండా లాటిన్ అమెరికా దేశాలు కూడా ఇందులో ఉన్నాయి. ఈ కూటమి యొక్క అధ్యక్షుడు నిన్న మొన్న వాళ్ళు అంతర్గతంగా లేఖలు రాసుకున్నారు. మనం ఇట్లా శిలాజ ఇంధనాలను తీసేద్దాము, వాటిని తగ్గిద్దామని నిర్ణయం వెలువడితే దానివల్ల మనకు ఇబ్బంది అవుతుంది, దాన్ని ఎట్లయినా చేసి ఆపండి అని వాళ్ళ అధ్యక్షుడు కొందరికి లేఖ రాసినట్టు ఆ లేఖ లీక్ అయింది నిన్న. దాంతో పెద్ద ఇది నిన్న COP28 సదస్సులో అదొక పెద్ద వార్తగా అయిపోయింది. అంటే వీళ్ళు ఇప్పటి వరకేమో అంతర్గతంగా చాప కింద నీరులాగా వ్యతిరేకిస్తున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు ఆ లేఖ చూసినాక వీళ్ళు పూర్తిగా వ్యతిరేకిస్తున్నారు అనేది ఓపెన్గా బయటపడింది. ఇక ఆ COP28 సదస్సు అధ్యక్షుడే ఆయన ఒక ఆయిల్ కంపెనీ అధ్యక్షుడు. కాబట్టి ఈ సందర్భంలో అసలు దీని మీద నిర్ణయం రాదేమో అనే బాధపడే వాళ్ళ సంఖ్య ఉంది. దాంతోపాటు దీంతో ఒరిగేదేం లేదు అని పెదవి విరిసే వాళ్ళ సంఖ్య కూడా ఉంది. అందుకే చాలా మంది COP28 సదస్సును బాయ్కాట్ చేశారు, రాలేదు చాలా మంది. కానీ ఇంకా అనేక మందికి ఆశలు ఉన్నాయి. ఇప్పుడు ఈ పోయిన వారము ఈ ప్రతిపాదనలు, నిన్న మొన్న జరిగిన ఈ గ్లోబల్ స్టాక్ టేక్ సమావేశం తీరు బట్టి ఇంకా అవకాశం ఉందని చాలా మందికి అనిపిస్తుంది విశ్లేషకులు. అయితే ఈరోజు 10 డిసెంబర్ నాడు 3 గంటలకి COP అధ్యక్షుడు ఒక సమావేశము ఏర్పాటు చేసాం ప్లీనరీ. అందరినీ పిలిచి ఒక దగ్గర అన్ని చర్చలను ఒక దగ్గరికి చేర్చే ప్రయత్నము ఇవాళ ప్లీనరీలో చేస్తారట. రేపు 11 డిసెంబర్న దీని మీద ఒక మంచి నిర్ణయం ఇస్తారని కూడా ఆశిస్తున్నారు. రేపు ఒక ప్రకటన వస్తుందని కూడా నిన్న సాయంత్రము ప్రెసిడెన్సీ ఆఫీస్ నుంచి మీడియాకు సమాచారం ఇచ్చారు. కాబట్టి ఇప్పుడు ఈరోజు 10 డిసెంబర్, రేపు 11 డిసెంబర్, ఎల్లుండి 12 డిసెంబర్, ఈ 3 రోజులలో ఒక నిర్ణయము వెలువడుతుంది, ఏకాభిప్రాయం వస్తుందని ఆశిస్తున్న వాళ్ళు చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు. సో మరి చూద్దాము రేపు, అంటే ఈరోజు చర్చల సరళి ఎట్లుంటుందని మనం చూద్దాం. నేను ఇక్కడితో ఈ సమీక్ష ముగిస్తున్నాను. నమస్కారం.